Welcome to this T-Tech video. My name is Thiago Soares and I will present to you the new Work Planner data source. Let's first recap the data source that we can create in a UX framework module. Currently, there are 9 data source types. A business object that we can use to interact with a single record. The current use data source to get information about the logged user. The in-memory business object that we can use to store data in a non-persistent scenario. The list data source to get the values of a list. There is the query data source to get a collection of records using a TRIRIGA report. The resource calendar that identifies an array of calendar events. The security information that delivers permissions information of the current user to the UX application. The smart section. And the UOM data source. The 3.6.0.3 fixpack adds a new data source type named Work Planner. This new data source enables the application to query the work availability information of a set of people. The Work Planner data source uses the people calendar and a query to calculate the availability information. The Work Planner data source extends the query data source. It must be configured with a query that returns the task allocations of a particular person. You also need to inform which fields returned by the query contains the allocation start date and the allocation duration. The Work Planner allocation query can return any business object that represents a task allocation. It must return the allocations of a person, and the allocations must have a start date and a duration. Using the model designer, you can create a new Work Planner data source. Set the type to Work Planner. Inform the name of the allocation query that you created, and select the field that contains the allocation start date. And after that, select the field that contains the allocation duration. To get the availability information from a Work Planner data source in application, you can use the new triplet query Work Planner element. This new element can be used inside a triplet query and allows the developers to send input parameters to the Work Planner data source. You can specify the data range by using the start date and end date properties. The triplet query Work Planner also has a context ID property that allows the developers to inform the people that it wants to get the availability information. The context ID property can receive a spec ID of one person or an array of multiple people spec IDs. Both the start date, end date, and context ID are mandatory when using a Work Planner data source. Work Planner data source returns an array of availability information items. Each item contains the availability data of a person in a particular day. The size of the return array is directly proportional to the number of people and the range of day passed as input parameters to the data source. Work Planner data source requests are intensive tasks, and higher response times are expected when requesting the availability information for a large set of people or a large set of days. The application should carefully size the number of days and people sent to a Work Planner data source to evict performance issues. Each availability information item in the response array has 6 attributes. The first attribute is the available hours that describe the number of hours that a person is presumed to work in a specific day. That information comes from the calendar associated to the person. The context ID, that is the ID of the person. The date attribute, that is the string representation of the day. The planned hours, that is the number of hours a person is planned to be working on tasks. It will consider the duration of all tasks that start on the day described by this item. The planned task quantity, that is the quantity of tasks allocated to that person that will start on the day described by this item. And the planned tasks, that is a list of all tasks allocated to the person. Now I will demonstrate a simple application that uses the work plan data source. Here we have an example of a data source of the type work planner. I created a query that returns all the allocations for a specific person, and I selected from the fields that are returned from the query which one has the start date and which field has the duration. Here we have a simple application code written in Polymer that uses that work planner that we created. First, we use a data source to get all the employees that are member of any work group that the current user is the supervisor. So it gets all the employees and put in this property. And after that, we run the work planner data source to get the availability information for all those employees. So I pass the employees property to the context ID, and inside the triplet query, I add the new triplet query work planner element, and there I can set the range of days that I want to get the availability information. Currently, the start date and end date in this example are set to the current week. So it starts on Monday and ends on Sunday of the current week. And after the application gets the list of employees and also the work planner data source returns the availability information for our employees, I combine both properties in just one. That will result in the employees availability property that I will just iterate and print the information on the screen. Let's now test the application that we just implemented. And when you log in the application, it will list all the employees that are member of work groups where the current user is the supervisor. And from the availability information that comes from the data source, the work plan data source, I can display this information in a weekly basis, for example. And in this particular technician, named Technician 5, on Monday, we have some information here. He is presumed to work 8 hours on that day. That information comes from the calendar. And he has one task allocated to him, and that task is planned to have a duration of 5 hours. So if I get another example, I can see that this technician one on Tuesday, he is expected to work 6 hours. He has one task allocated to him, and that task will consume 7 of his hours. So he is over allocated on that day. You can see that from the calendar that is associated to technician 1, he is not expected to work on Mondays. So that's why we see this as with no information here, but he is expected to work on Saturdays. So all this information of the hours that are presumed to work in a daily basis comes from the calendar, and the information of the planned hours and the number of tasks comes from the query that we associate to the work plan data source. Using the developer tools available on the Chrome browser, we can inspect the response that comes from the work plan data source. We are requesting the availability information for 5 people over a range of 7 days. So the work planner data source will return an array of 35 items. Each item represents the availability information of a specific person in a particular day. In this case, if I open this second record, I can see that this person has or are presumed to work 8 hours, but he has one task allocated to him and he is planned to be working on that task for 5 hours. That's all, folks, for today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you the next time.